Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to learn how to make the sizable crochet waffle fringe dress. The fringe part is optional. If you wish to put it there, you should, but if you don't want the fringe there, you can definitely leave it like this as it is shown in this image. So for this project in particular, we have increases, as you can see on the side here. If you take a close look at the hip section, we have increases going on, and for this particular design we don't have a bunch at the back of our dress. Look at that. Look at how seamless and how perfectly fitted this dress is. Today I'm going to show you how to do this, and when it comes to the second hip section, you can see the increases at this point. You can see that the stitches are spreading out while maintaining the waffle stitch. So in this project, we are going to learn how to increase the waffle stitch in the middle of the round or the row. And you can be able to make this perfectly fitted waffle stitch turtleneck fringe dress. It has so many aspects, and I would love to see your creations of this dress, and make sure if you create it, you tag me in your finished project. If you would like the written pattern, it's already available on all my online shops. Alright guys, so for the materials you will need yarn. The yarn that I'm using is a 4-ply acrylic yarn. It's called Winter King. And you also need a measuring tape, a pair of scissors, a 4mm crochet hook, a darning needle to weave in your ends, and 4 stitch markers. I'll find mine later on, but for now I have one here. So let's begin. So we're going to start off with a top that we shall later transform into this well-fitted dress. We're going to start off with a foundation double crochet. For those who don't know what that is, I'm going to teach you how to do that. And the reason why I chose this is because this top is covered up all the way around the bust, and you would wish to have a stretchy kind of stitch, one that doesn't become tight around the bust. So in order to do a foundation double crochet, you're going to make a slip knot just like that, and then you're going to make a chain of 3, and then you're going to yarn over, insert your hook into the very first chain that you made, pull up a loop. You have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 1. You'll have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2. You have 2 loops on your hook and yarn over, pull through the last 2. So that is our very first double crochet, the foundation double crochet. Then you're going to yarn over and then turn your work to the back. You see those 2 loops? There's this one and this one. You're going to go into both of them, just like that, into both loops. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. So those are 2 stitches. We don't count this as a stitch. So far we have 2, and then we're going to repeat that. Yarn over, go into the 2 loops at the base, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. So I'm going to keep working this until I have a total of 102 stitches. Your multiple should be a multiple of 3 stitches. So I'm going to do 102 stitches for my sample. So yarn over, go into the 2 loops at the base, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 1, pull through 2, pull through 2. So that's the repeat for this part, and this will count as round 1, as you'll see later on. So this is creating a double crochet stitch, but at the same time, when it comes to the base, it's creating a stitch-like look at the base as well as the top of the stitches. So continue to do this, and I'll meet you back when I have my 102 stitches. As you keep working, keep measuring this part. So my aim is to get my bust circumference when I get to 102 stitches. I should be able to have my bust circumference across. So guys, I ended up doing a total of 102 stitches, and you should be having a multiple of 3. So remember I told you the first chain 2 doesn't count as a stitch, so I will slip stitch on top of the very first double crochet of the round and slip stitch there, and then you're going to get your darning needle and join the bottom of the round as well, just to form a decent round. And make sure your work is not twisted, definitely. So you're going to go at the base on the opposite side and just secure your yarn like this. So this will create a round. And if we are to get a measuring tape, when we stretch across, so when we just put it like this, we have 12 inches, which is 13 inches, sorry, which is a total of 26 bust. But when we stretch slightly, we go to around 16 to 17 inches. But if we stretch fully, we even go up to 20 inches. So just give it a slight stretch and you should be able to get half of your bust circumference. So the bust circumference that I'm considering is 34 roughly, and I should be able to get a total of 17 inches when I slightly stretch my piece after joining it in the round. So we are now here and we are going to start working our waffle stitch. So to do that, you're going to make a chain of 2, which doesn't count as a stitch, and you're going to go into the very first stitch with 1 double crochet, and then into the next stitch you're going to place a front post double crochet. So go under the stitch and push the stitch to the front, and then place your double crochet as usual, just like that, and then 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, 1 and 2, and then you're going to place a front post double crochet into the next stitch. And that's the repeat for this round. 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, 1, 2, and then 1 front post double crochet into the next stitch. So keep repeating this, 1 double crochet in each of the next 2, and then a front post in the next stitch. And I'll meet you back towards the end of the round. Alright, so we've come to the end of our round and we're still placing 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, and then front post double crochet into the next, and then you should end your row with a double crochet into the very last stitch. So after your last double crochet, you're going to slip stitch into the very first double crochet. You skip over the chain 2 because it doesn't count as a stitch. So you slip stitch into the very first double crochet of the round. So we're going on to round 3. Round 3, you're going to start off with a chain of 2 and turn your work. Now from now onwards, we are going to keep turning our work every after a round. We are going to always make sure that we are working in the opposite direction of the previous round. So after your chain of 2, which doesn't count as a stitch, you're going to go into the very first stitch with a front post double crochet, and then 1 double crochet in the next stitch, 1 double crochet in the next stitch, and then 1 front post double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, 1 and 2, and then 1 double crochet into the next stitch, and then 1 front post double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, and 1 double crochet into the next. So repeat that all the way around. Front post in each of the next 2, and then 1 double crochet into the next. You should notice that the stitches that get the 2 front post double crochets are as if popping onto the surface of the project, and then the one that receives the double crochet is as if receding to the back of the project, just like that. So repeat that all the way around, and I'll meet you back at the end of my round. So when you come to the right side of the work, you can see the waffle stitch starting to form. And as we keep working, it will become more and more prominent or more visible when it comes to the texture. So keep working, and I'll meet you back at the end of round 3. So we've come to the end of round 3, and I'm placing a double crochet into the next stitch, and I should end my round with a front post double crochet into the very last stitch. So place your front post double crochet into the last stitch, and then slip stitch on top of the first front post double crochet of the round, just like that. So we're going on to round 4, and round 4 should resemble round 2. So you make a chain of 2 and turn your work, and start the first stitch should get a double crochet. Keep in mind the chain of 2 doesn't count as a stitch. So double crochet into the first stitch, and then front post double crochet into the next stitch, and then the repeat for this round is 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, and then a front post double crochet into the next. 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, and a front post double crochet into the next, just like we did for round 2. And this is going to create the waffle stitch. The even rounds are on the right side of the work, which creates the waffle stitch texture, and then the odd rounds are on the wrong side of the work, which creates this stitch texture. It's not a waffle stitch. So keep that in mind, and keep working in the opposite direction of the previous round. Make sure every time you chain 2 to start a new round, you turn your work so that you're in the opposite direction of the previous round. And this is round 4. That means it will end with a double crochet into the very last stitch, and then you will slip stitch on top of the first double crochet of the round, and keep repeating rounds 3 and 4. It's just a 2 round repeat. The one on the right side and the one on the wrong side. And yeah, I'll be having timestamps in the description box below so that you can follow along easily. And yeah. Alright guys, so I ended up doing a total of 21 rounds, and you should end on a round that's on the wrong side of your work. As you can see, end on an odd round that is worked on the wrong side of the work. And I have 21 rounds. If I'm to take a measurement here, I have a total of 9 to 10 inches altogether, and that's the measurement that I'm considering from the armpits all the way to the waistline, where we are going to start creating increases in order for our dress to fit perfectly well. As you can see, we considered bust circumference when we were working this one, and when you measure across, you should be having half of your bust circumference when slightly stretched. So for me, the bust circumference that I considered was 34 inches. So I should be able to get 17 inches when I slightly stretch my work. And now our aim is to change this in order to accommodate the hip circumference. So you're going to make sure that your seam line, this is our seam line, where you've been ending your rounds, you're going to make sure it's in the middle of your work like this. And then you're going to get 2 stitch markers. Mine are here. And you're going to mark 2 stitches on the sides of the work. And those 2 stitches should be in such a line. So you just go to the side and mark a stitch that will have gotten a front post double crochet for the next round. Actually, not this one, this one. So let me show you what I mean by that. You can see that line. I've marked this stitch. And then when you go to this side, I've also marked a stitch here. And that's where the increases are going to be placed. So once you get to your waistline or your navel area, we're going to start creating increases. And for our next round, which is going to be our very first round of increase, you're going to make a chain of 2 and turn your work to the right side. This should be on the right side. All our increase rounds will be worked on the right side. So you're going to go into the first stitch with 1 double crochet, and then front post double crochet into the next stitch, and then 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. So we are basically doing the same exact thing that we've been doing before. And then a front post double crochet into the next stitch. 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, and a front post double crochet into the next. And repeat that until you get to your very first stitch marker, which is here. So we are almost approaching our first stitch marker, and I'm placing my 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. And the next stitch, which has the stitch marker, you're going to remove it like this, and this is the stitch where you would have placed a front post double crochet, but this time we're going to place a front post double crochet into it, just like this. And then in the same stitch on top, this time here behind the front post double crochet, you're going to go in there with 2 double crochets, 1 and 2. And then you're going to go into the same stitch with the front post double crochet, and you're going to place a front post double crochet, just like this. And then into the next stitch, which should have received a double crochet, you're going to place 2 double crochets, just like that. And then a front post double crochet into the same stitch with these 2 front post double crochets. So you yarn over and go back to the same stitch with the 2 front post double crochets and place a front post double crochet, just like that. So this way we have placed 3 front post double crochets all in the same stitch, and then you're going to mark the middle front post double crochet, just like this. And this will be the point of our next increase, as I'll explain later on. And then into the next stitch, you're going to place 2 double crochets, 1 and 2. And then from here you're going to make a front post double crochet into the next stitch. So we've gone back to our normal pattern. The increases have been created at this point. And then you're going to continue to place 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, and then front post double crochet into the next. Repeat that until you get to your next stitch marker, and I'll explain the increase one more time before we proceed with our project. All right, now we've reached our next stitch marker. You're going to remove it, and then into that stitch you're going to place a front post double crochet, and behind that front post double crochet into the same stitch on top of it, you're going to place 2 double crochets into the same stitch, and then a front post double crochet into the same stitch with the previous front post double crochet, 2 double crochets into the next stitch, and then a front post double crochet into the stitch with the previous 2 front post double crochets. So you move backwards and you're going to place a front post double crochet there. So this will create 3 front post double crochets. You're going to mark the middle one, and then you're going to go into the next stitch with 2 double crochets, and then a front post double crochet into the next stitch. And then we're going to go back to our usual pattern. 2 normal double crochets into each of them. 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, and then a front post double crochet into the next. So repeat that until the end of the round, and I'll meet you back after that. All right, so we're coming to the end of the round, and I'm placing a front post double crochet here, and I'm ending my round with a double crochet, just like what we've been doing for the rounds on the right side of the work, the side with the waffle stitch. We end them with a double crochet into the last stitch and slip stitch on top of the first double crochet of the round. Now you're going to make a chain of 2 and turn your work. This round is going to be a non-increase round, so we're going to just repeat the same exact process as round 3. So chain 2, turn your work, front post double crochet into the first stitch, and then 1 double crochet into the next stitch, and then front post double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, 1 double crochet in the next. That's the repeat of the round. 1 front post in each of the next 2 stitches, and then double crochet into the next. So do that until you get to your very first stitch marker. And this time, as I had mentioned earlier on, we are not going to increase. So you just move your stitch marker into the same stitch of the new round, as you'll see later on. All right, so you're going to just repeat the same exact process or the same pattern for the round on the wrong side of the work, which is round 3, even when you get to the increase part, the part where we did our increases. So you just make 1 front post in each of the next 2 stitches, and then a double crochet into the next, and then front post in each of the next 2 stitches, and then double crochet into the next. So this is a double crochet, so I'm going to remove my stitch marker, place my double crochet there, replace my stitch marker into the new round, and then one front post in each of the next 2 stitches, and then double crochet into the next. Front post in each of the next 2 stitches and double crochet into the next. So that's the repeat for this round. And let's see what that has created on the other side. You can see how the direction of the dress is starting to change, and that is because we are creating increases in order to accommodate our hip circumference. So that means we have to increase this area here. So for this round, just go all the way around, and when you get to this part, you're going to just repeat the same process that you've done here. The pattern doesn't change until you come to the end of the round, and then we shall go on to the next round. Alright guys, we've ended our round with a front post double crochet and then slip stitched into the very first front post double crochet of the round. Now we're going on to our next round. You're going to make a chain of 2, turn your work, and then double crochet into the very first stitch, front post double crochet into the next stitch, and the repeat for this round is 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, because we are working on the right side of the work now, and then a front post double crochet into the next to create the waffle stitch. So for this round, still no increases. Our aim is to increase every after 3 rounds. So this round that we have just finished is one of them. So 1, this one is the second one, and then we shall work another round that resembles round 3 plain without any increases, and then on the next round we shall create an increase. So that is the plan. I'm going to go ahead and work this plain round, and don't forget to always shift your stitch markers into the new round on the same exact stitch. So this round is going to resemble round 4, which is worked on the right side of the work. And after this one, we shall do the same exact round as the one we have just finished, the one on the wrong side without any increases. And then I'll meet you back to create another increase. Alright guys, at this point I'm through with the round that's on the right side of my work. And now I'm going to do 1 round on the wrong side before I do my next increase. So the last round before the next increase should be on the wrong side of the work. So chain 2, turn your work, and then front post double crochet into the very first stitch, 1 double crochet into the next, 1 front post double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, and then 1 double crochet into the next, 1 front post into each of the next 2 stitches, and 1 double crochet into the next. So work all the way around without any increases, and then for our next round we should be able to create another increase. So you can see how our work is looking like right now. So the increases are worked every after 3 rounds. So after the increase round, you work round 3, 4, 3, and then you create an increase round again, just like that. So let me finish up this one, and then I'll show you what to do for the next round. Alright, so we finished this round with our front post double crochet, and we are slip stitching into the first front post double crochet of the round. Now the next round is going to be a round of increase, and remember it's going to resemble this round here that creates those 3 stitches in the middle. And as you can see, each box represents 2 rounds. So after this we have 2 rounds here in this box, and then we have another round here. So this is what I was talking about. After your increase round, you will repeat rounds 3, 4, 3, and then you create another round of increase, which is supposed to resemble this one. And at this point, you will know that in that middle line, that's where the increases are supposed to be placed. And you can now remove your stitch markers if you can eyeball that. But if you can't, then you can leave your stitch markers there so that they can remind you of where to increase. So you're going to make a chain of 2, turn your work. This is on the right side, which is the waffle stitch side, and you're going to start off with a double crochet into the first stitch, a front post double crochet into the next stitch, and then go onto the pattern, which is 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, and then a front post double crochet into the next. So repeat that all the way across until you get to your stitch marker. So this is our stitch marker, and we have a stitch marker on this side and on this side, and that's where we are supposed to create our increases in order to prepare for this dress to accommodate our hip circumference. So let me just go ahead and reach my stitch marker. All right, so we are almost at the stitch marker, and that stitch would have received a front post double crochet, but we are going to create an increase, and we're going to create it the same exact way that we did for the previous increases. So into the stitch, you're going to place a front post double crochet, then into that same stitch on top of the stitch, you're going to place 2 double crochets, and then front post double crochet in the stitch with the previous front post double crochet, 2 double crochets into the next stitch, front post double crochet in the stitch with the previous 2 front post double crochets. This will create 3 front post double crochets into the same stitch, and you will place a stitch marker into the middle one, and then 2 double crochets into the next stitch, and then front post double crochet into the next stitch, and then we go back to the normal pattern that we already have. So you can see how our dress is continuing to increase sideways as opposed to this. So we have extended the increase towards the side. So we're going to go all the way across, working our pattern, and then we create an increase here as well, the same exact way that we've done here, and then we go back to the normal pattern until the end of the round, and I'll meet you back at that point. All right, so we are done with our increase round, and you can see how our work looks like. If I'm to zoom out, I want the whole piece to be on the screen so that you can get the bigger picture of what's happening. This is what we have right now, and you're going to get your measuring tape at this point, and you're going to take the measurement at the base across your very last round when slightly stretched. And for me, I have about 19 inches, and this measurement should be half of your hip circumference when slightly stretched. You don't want to overstretch it. So I have around 19 inches. Let me go ahead and work my 3 rounds of no increase, and then I'll come back and take another measurement to make sure the measurement is accurate. If it's 19, that means I'll have to do another increase round. But we are going to keep repeating the increase round, and then 3 rounds of no increase, then the increase round and 3 rounds of no increase until the base can stretch to our hip circumference, half of our hip circumference, because we are considering this layer and this layer. And then from there we shall stop increasing and go back to the normal pattern that we've been working at the beginning of the project. So let me go ahead and work my 3 rounds, round 3, 4, and 3, and then I'll come back and take another measurement. So guys, we are done with sorry, I still have to do one more round. Oh my god, I'd forgotten. Let me go ahead and do one more round, and then I take the measurement at the base. Alright guys, I am through with my 3 rounds after the increase round, and you can see we have an increase round here. This was our very first increase round, and then our 3 rounds after that, 1 2 3, and then our next increase round, and then 1 2 3, and we're going to take a measurement at the base of our piece right now. You don't want to overstretch it, because when the waffle stitch is overstretched, it seems to lose its texture. So just slightly stretch. So I'm at around 18.5 inches, and I'm going to do one more increase. It should take me to my 20 inches that I intend to make for. So the hip circumference that I'm considering for this dress is 20 inches times 2, because you're considering this layer and this layer. So the hip circumference is 40 inches, and I have to make sure before I stop the increases, I have a total of half my hip circumference measuring across the base of my piece when slightly stretched. So I believe one more increase will do just that, and then I'll get back to just working plain rounds until I get the length of the dress that I want. So let me go ahead and make another increase, and then once you get your hip circumference, half of your hip circumference at the base, you're going to just continue working plain rounds and make sure you get the length of the dress that you need. Alright guys, so we continued working our dress until we got the length that we wanted, and in total I have a total of 64 rounds right from the beginning, from the top all the way to the base of the dress. I have a total of 64 rounds, but you can do as many rounds as you wish depending on the length of the dress that you want for yourself. Now you're going to go ahead and close up that little opening that was at the top of the dress using a darning needle, and then we are going to place stitch markers. For this part I will be demonstrating using the yellow dress because it's the same exact process, so I'm not going to re-record this part of the tutorial, but I wanted to just start the very first round, the very first row, because now we're going to work in rows to create the armhole shaping as well as the neckline. So as you can see here, we have placed stitch markers. I'm going to eliminate 3 boxes. So the boxes that I'm considering, this one, this one, and this one. Just place your work flat like this. The seam line is at the back. As you can see here, this is the seam line of our work. So let me zoom out a little bit. This is the seam line, so just place your work at the front, just like this. And then place stitch markers. I'm eliminating 3 boxes on the side. So 1, 2, 3, and I'm placing stitch markers somewhere around after the 3rd box. And after this box here, I'll place a stitch marker there. And then on this side, same thing, 1, 2, 3, and then place stitch markers. And now we're going to get our yarn. I'm going to just demonstrate this row so that it's easy for you to see what to do, because remember this was a foundation double crochet row. So you're going to attach your yarn on the wrong side. Remember, this is the wrong side of the work. And you're going to, you see these 2 stitches that appear to be as if front posts, those ones which should have gotten 2 front post double crochets. You're going to count 1, 2 stitches away from them, and then attach your yarn, make a chain of 2 which doesn't count as a stitch, and then double crochet into the same exact stitch. And then you're going to place a double crochet into the next stitch, and then each of the next 2 stitches you're going to place 1 front post double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches, and then 1 double crochet into the next, and then 1 front post double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, and 1 double crochet into the next. So we've gone back to our normal pattern, and you can see after placing your 2 front post double crochet stitches, the next stitch appears to be receding or going to the back, and that's the one that receives a normal double crochet. So keep doing this all the way across until towards your next stitch marker. So we're almost coming to the end, and I'm placing 2 front posts and then 1 double crochet in each of the last 2 stitches, just like that. So you should end with 2 double crochets, 1 in each of the last 2 stitches, and this is what you're going to have. Now for the next row, you're going to make a chain of 2, which doesn't count as a stitch, and then you're going to turn your work. You can see the waffle stitch is still dominant on the right side of the work, and then you're going to place 1 double crochet in the very first stitch, since the chain 2 doesn't count as a stitch, and then a front post double crochet into the next stitch, then 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, and then a front post double crochet into the next. So the repeat for this row is 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches and a front post double crochet into the next. All right, so we're going to pick up from our yellow piece and continue to repeat the same exact process as we did there, because it's the same exact instructions. And then I'll meet you back when I am through with my green piece. Stitch marker, and I will show you how to wind up your row. Coming towards the end of the row, and we've placed our 2 front post double crochets here. You're going to place 1 double crochet into the next stitch and 1 double crochet into the stitch before the stitch marker, and that marks the end of this row. That's what you have. And then we're going to make for our next row, which is row 2, you're going to make a chain of 2, which doesn't count as a stitch, and then turn your work into the same exact stitch. You're going to place 1 double crochet and then front post double crochet into the next stitch. Then you're going to make 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, and then front post double crochet into the next. And that's the repeat for this row. 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches and front post double crochet into the next stitch to create the waffle stitch on the right side of the work. So keep doing that until towards the end of the row, where I'll show you what to do next. to the end of the row, and I place a front post in this one, and the very last stitch will get a double crochet, just like that. And then we're going on to the next row, which is row 3. You're going to make a chain of 2, which doesn't count as a stitch. Turn your work, 1 double crochet into the same exact stitch, the first stitch, and then 1 double crochet into the next, and then 1 front post double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. So this is 1, and then the next stitch also gets a front post double crochet, and then 1 double crochet into the next, 1 front post into each of the next 2 stitches, and then 1 double crochet into the next, so all the way across. Until towards the end of the row, and I'll show you how to wind up. So right now we are on the wrong side of our work. Row 3, and we are placing 1 double crochet in each of the last 2 stitches. So we're going to keep repeating row 2 and 3 for a number of rows. I'll be mentioning how many rows that I'll do, but keep repeating rows 2 and 3 in order to grow this upper part of the dress. So from here, it's from your armpit all the way to your collarbone. That's my intended measurement. So I'll be letting you know how many rows that I'll do in my next clip. Okay, so we ended up doing a total of 6 rows. So from here we have 2, 4 and 6, and we've ended up adding a total of 4 boxes of the waffle stitch. Remember, each box is made of 2 rows. So this is what we have, and now we are going to split and create an opening for the neckline and continue to work upwards in order to create a shaping for the neckline. So get your stitch markers. You can remove these ones that we have already used, and I'm going to count 3 boxes in, starting with this one. Just ignore this part. 1, 2, 3, and into the next stitch after the front post you place a stitch marker, and then 1, 2, 3, and into the stitch after the front post you place a stitch marker there. So now we're going to start working back and forth for a few more rows to create the shoulder shaping that will go onto the back panel. So we've ended with the right side, and we're going to just make a chain of 2, turn your work, and now we are on the wrong side. So you go into the first stitch with a double crochet, and then double crochet into the next, and then 1 front post double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, just like that, and then double crochet into the next, and repeat that. 1 front post in each of the next 2, and then double crochet into the next. Keep doing that until you come towards your stitch marker that you just placed, and then a double crochet into the next. So when you come here, you remove the stitch marker and place a double crochet into that stitch that had the stitch marker, and then from here you're going to make a chain of 2, turn your work, and then work the row on the right side, the one that creates the waffle stitch. So you go into the first stitch with a double crochet, and then front post into the next, 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, and then front post in the next stitch, 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, front post double crochet into the next, and then keep repeating that until you come towards the end of your row. So I'm placing a front post into the next stitch, and then 1 double crochet into the very last stitch of the row, just like that. So we're still working the same exact row. The only difference is this time it's shorter. So what we've done right now is adding 1 extra box. We want a total of 3 boxes still, just like we've done here. So we're going to keep repeating rows 2 and 3 until rows 2 and 3, because this is the same exact process. Rows 2 and 3 of the short rows until you have a total of 3 boxes of the shoulder shaping or the neckline shaping. So we have made our 3 boxes, and then you're going to make a chain of 1 and cut your yarn, leaving behind a tail for joining. Pull through, and we're going to repeat the same exact process on this side. So you're going to grab your yarn and make sure you're working in the opposite direction of the previous row. You're going to attach your yarn in the stitch with a stitch marker, just like that. And now we are on the wrong side of the work, so chain 2, which doesn't count as a stitch, go into that same stitch with a double crochet into the next, and then 1 double crochet, 1 front post double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, and then double crochet into the next, front post in each of the next 2, double crochet into the next, front post in each of the next 2, double crochet in the next, and then double crochet into the last. So that marks the end of row 1 on the opposite side. So from here you're going to just keep repeating rows 2 and 3 of the short rows so that we create the waffle stitch. Alright guys, once I'm through with balancing both sides, I'm going to make a chain of 1 and cut my yarn, leaving behind a tail for attaching, and then pull through. So this is exactly what we have. Now we're going to turn our work onto the back side, and we're going to repeat the same exact process. So just rewind the video to that point when we had the stitch markers here, there at that point, and we're going to repeat the same exact process. So making sure that you're working on the wrong side of your work or in the opposite direction of the previous row. We're going to attach our yarn just like we did for the first side, and then we're going to repeat the same exact process. So just rewind the video and repeat the same exact steps, and I'll meet you back when I'm done with my second side, or the back side or the front side, whichever is the same, because we're following the same exact instructions for both sides. Alright guys, once you're done with balancing both sides, as you can see here, you can get rid of the stitch markers at this point because we no longer need them. And this is what you're going to have. Now we're going to turn our work onto the wrong side, or just flip your work over. Just flip it over to the wrong side, and this is what the wrong side looks like. The texture is also rich, but not as rich as the one on the waffle stitch side. So what we are going to do right now is get our darning needle, and we are going to join the shoulder seam. So get one of the tails that you left behind, those long tails that I told you to leave behind for joining, and we're going to start joining the pieces together. So what we do is to go stitch to stitch, so into the first stitch here and the first stitch on the opposite side, and then pull through, and we're going to keep repeating that all the way across the shoulder seam. So I can't find my usual darning needle, that's why I'm using this one. But whichever you decide to use, you can even use your crochet hook and crochet across with a slip stitch or a single crochet stitch, as long as this part is joined together. Okay, so I'm going into the very last stitch and I'm joining it as well. And then at this point I can remove my darning needle and tie the two strands on this end together just to get rid of them. Just tie a double knot, just like that, and then you cut off the excess yarn. And this is what we have on the wrong side, but on the right side this is exactly what we have. So you're going to repeat the same exact process for this shoulder seam, the second shoulder seam, and join it together to the one on the opposite side, and I'll meet you back at that point. Alright guys, we are done with the two shoulder seams, and this is exactly what we have. This is the progress of our dress. Let's see what it looks like at the moment. Alright guys, this is what our dress looks like at the moment. You can see the neckline has been shaped, as well as the sleeve openings, and then going downwards. So let's continue to work on our dress in order to get a beautiful design. We are now going to work the neckline of our dress, and to do that you're going to first clean up the border of the neckline, and you're going to attach your yarn in any stitch. I'll attach mine in this corner here, in one of the stitches, and then I'm going to single crochet in that same exact corner. And then when it comes to these rows, the double crochet spaces or the double crochet rows, you're going to go into each row with 2 single crochets, 1 and 2, and then into the next row 1 and 2, just like that. 1 and 2, 1 and 2. So you're going to place 2 single crochets in each and every row. So this is my last row, and I'm placing 2 single crochets there. Now you're going to go into the stitches themselves, starting with a corner stitch, and then continue to single crochet in each and every stitch across until you get to the second extension, and you'll do the same exact thing that we've done here. Alright, so when you place a single crochet in the corner here, you're going to go onto the second extension and place 2 single crochets in each and every double crochet row. Just like that. So go all the way down to here. Okay, so we've reached the corner. You're going to place a single crochet there, and then single crochet all the way across the last side of the neckline. Alright, so I'm placing my last single crochet into the last stitch, and I'm going to slip stitch into the very first single crochet of the round. So that has cleaned up our neckline opening, as you can see here. Now we are going to start creating the ribbing of the neckline opening. So you're going to make a chain of 16 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 and 16. This is how thick I want the ribbing to be. If you want it shorter, you may consider 11 chains, but this is going to be my thickness. Let me see. Yeah, this will be the thickness of my ribbing for the neckline. So you're going to go into the second chain from the hook and single crochet there, and then single crochet all the way back to the body of the dress, going into each and every chain with one single crochet. So you'll have a total of 15 single crochets, since the 16th was the turning chain. So continue to single crochet all the way back to the body of the dress. Just like that. So once you get back to the body of the dress, you're going to go into the next stitch with a slip stitch. So insert your hook and pull through all, and then slip stitch into the next stitch. And then you're also going to slip stitch into the next stitch. So what we are doing is slip stitching into the next 3 single crochets, and then turn your work and single crochet back loop only into each and every stitch from the previous row. So single crocheting into the back loop is going to create a ribbing effect for our neckline panel. So slip stitch, sorry, single crochet back loop only into each and every stitch, chain 1, turn your work, and single crochet back loop only into each and every stitch from the previous row. So since I have a total of 15 stitches, I'll make sure I maintain that number for each and every row. Make sure you don't decrease or increase the number of stitches. Just maintain that number until you get back to the body of the dress, and then slip stitch in each of the next 3 single crochets, and then turn your work. So we're going to basically repeat rows 2 and 3, 2 and 3, until we make it all the way to all the way around the neckline opening. So here I am with my last single crochet back loop only, and then you're going to go into each of the next 3 stitches with 1 slip stitch, just like that, and then turn your work and single crochet back loop only in each of the 15 stitches, or whatever number of stitches that you decided to use here. So since I have a total of 3 slip stitches, I'll just consider 1 2 3, and that means I start from the 4th. 1 2 3, just to make sure I have the same exact number of single crochet stitches, because sometimes the slip stitches will fool you and you think those are stitches, yet in actual sense you're increasing the number of stitches for the ribbing, and you may notice when you're ahead of your work, and that will be a mistake, and you'll have to frog your work. So pay extra attention so that you don't make mistakes at the beginning of this ribbing, because it takes quite a while and you wouldn't want to mess it up at the beginning, and then you have to frog it and repeat it. Chain 1, single crochet back loop only in each and every stitch, all the way back to the body of the dress. Okay, so when you get to the body of the dress, you slip stitch into each of the next 3 stitches. So 1 2 and 3, and then turn your work, skip the slip stitches 1 2 3, and into the 4th I'm placing my single crochet back loop only. So this is what we have. You can see the ribbed effect has started forming, and you're going to make a chain of 1 and turn, and you're going to keep repeating those rows 2 and 3 until we make it all the way around the neckline opening. And then I'll meet you back towards the end here, and I'll show you what effect this is going to create for our neckline opening of the dress. This is a few rows into the ribbing, and this is what we have. Look how pretty the ribbing is, how beautifully the ribbing is sitting onto the waffle stitch. If you're getting value from this video so far, make sure you hit that like button and share this video with your crochet friends, and don't forget to leave a comment down below and let me know what you think about this video. So let's go ahead and keep working our ribbing, because the moment it goes all the way around the neckline opening, it's going to just be like magic. I can't wait to finish, but it's taking forever because it's not something that works up really fast, so you have to be a little bit patient in order to get what you're looking for. Alright guys, we've made it all the way around the neckline opening, and this is exactly what we have. You should make sure that you're on top of your ribbing, your neckline ribbing. You're going to make a chain of 1 and cut your yarn, leaving behind a tail for attaching. So make a chain of 1, and at the back we have this split between the foundation chain of the ribbing and the very last row of the ribbing. And we are going to get our darning needle and thread it using the tail that we've left behind, just like this. And we're going to attach stitch to stitch the foundation chain onto the stitch of the last row. So you should attach a total of 15 times, since we had a total of 15 stitches for our neckline ribbing. Just go into each chain, attaching onto each stitch of the last row of the ribbing. So that's what we're doing right now. We are closing up that opening that we created in order to form a round for our neckline ribbing. And this is exactly what we have. I'll just go into the very last space here, and then I'll push my loose end onto the inside of the dress. I'll weave that in later on, but look what we have right now. And when I lay my work flat, you can see how the neckline ribbing has turned out. Very cute. It's not so wide, and at the same time it's not so compact to distort the shaping of the dress. This is exactly what we have. Now we're going to go onto the bottom side of our dress, and we're going to create some sort of fringe at the base. Alright guys, now for the bottom fringe, we are going to attach our strands onto the bottom part, and I'm going to count 10 boxes up. So let me see, counting from this one: 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 and 10. And I'm going to put a stitch marker on the 11th. The 11th won't get fringes, but all these ones below are going to get fringes. So I have cut strands of about roughly 7 inches, and they're the ones that I'm going to attach onto the bottom side of the dress. So you're going to get one strand, and you're going to attach it in the stitches in between the front post double crochets. So we have 2 double crochets in between the 2 front posts, and you will attach into the first one and 1 into the second one, just like that. And then you get the next one, skip the front post and attach into the next double crochet, and get the next strand and attach into the next double crochet. So we're not attaching a fringe into the front post double crochets, only into the double crochets in between the two front posts. And we're going to do that all the way around, and keep doing that also on the lower rows. I'm going to first skip one row and then place on the next, skip one row and place onto the next, and I see how that will look like. If I feel like they're still a bit scanty, then I will do each and every row. So let me just try it a little bit here, and I see how I like it. If I don't, then I will go into each and every. Alright guys, so what I decided to do is, if you want a dense sort of feel for your fringe, then you're going to go into each and every row. The rows that I'm talking about are these topmost layers of the boxes. You're going to go into each of them. But if you want a sort of light feel and you don't want your dress to become very heavy at the base, you're going to skip one and then place on the next, and then skip one and place on the next. So for me, I'm going to go for the light feel, because I feel like if I place on each and every row, it's going to become a very heavy dress at the base, and the waffle stitch is already dense enough and thick enough. So I will go for the lighter feel and come back and show you what everything will look like. For now, I've worked only 2 layers and I think I like the feel of this. I will skip the next and then place onto this row, and then skip the next and place onto this row, skip this one, place onto this one, and I think that will be it. So let me just go ahead and do that, and I'll come back and show you what everything will look like. Alright guys, now that we are done with the fringes, this is what they look like. We're going to go on to cleaning up the edges of the armholes. So you're going to grab your yarn, and we're just going to clean it up the same exact way that we did for the neckline. So go into any stitch here at the base of the armhole, attach your yarn and single crochet in each and every stitch. Until you get to the double crochet rows. So 1 single crochet into each and every stitch, and then when you get to the double crochet rows, when you get here, you're going to place 1 single crochet into that same in the corner, and then start placing 1 single crochet in each and every double crochet row. Sorry, 2 single crochets. 2 single crochets in each and every double crochet row, just like we did when we were cleaning up the edging of the neckline before we started the ribbing. So when you make it all the way around, you will place 1 single crochet in the corner and then slip stitch into the very first single crochet of the round. Slip stitch there, chain 1 and cut your yarn. So now we are done with cleaning up the edges, the very first edge of the first sleeve. This is what we have. We're going to repeat the same exact process for the opposite side. You can see how wonky this edge is and how neat this one is. So you just push the tails to the back, and you can maybe tie a double knot or weave them in using a darning needle. That's entirely up to you. You can do as you wish, as long as you get rid of the loose ends. Okay, so this is what we have, a very clean edge for our armhole. We're going to repeat the same exact process on this side, and then we shall see the final look of our dress. So guys, once you're through with the armhole edging, you'll see a very big change from what we had before. It's much neater. Alright guys, this is the final look of our dress. I know within the video I mentioned that the fringe is optional, so the green one didn't get a fringe, but if you want to attach a fringe, go ahead and do that. The instructions are within the video, but this is how perfectly fitted our green version is, and you can make it to any size. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Make sure you give it a thumbs up if you did, and I will see you in my next video. Stay tuned for a surprise, and yeah, thanks for watching guys. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.